Welcome back to Ghost Pirate Entertainment. I'm your host, Kanan Becker, and today we talk about Don't Breathe 2.
I get to go to town today, right?
You need to pass all your tests.
Failed. The gun is in my hand.
Alright, so I just got back from the theater checking out the new Fede Álvarez film, Don't Breathe 2. I definitely enjoyed it off the top, but I can really very much see this being a really split reception on what people think of this movie, because there's definitely some stuff that I thought they were extremely ballsy in some of the decisions they made in this movie. So first up, I want to address the little debate, I guess, that's been going on ever since the final trailer was released, because there's been kind of two camps on this. Some people saw the trailer and were just fine with seeing the blind old man as now playing a little bit more of a hero, maybe. And then the other camp of people were like, dude, this guy is a total piece of shit. Like, horrible stuff this guy did in that first movie. How are you going to now make him into some kind of hero? So I think they did a great job with that, because without changing his core character from the first movie, they have a storyline that makes sense and makes sense on the situation that he's in. But really what it comes down to, without spoiling anything, is it's just kind of the better of two evils.
Remember, the guy's blind, but he's still dangerous.
But I can't really get much more into that without spoiling things. This is a tough movie to talk about because there's a lot of things that I feel like could easily spoil this movie. A lot of twist and plot kind of details that would definitely give too much away. For the first half of this movie, at least, it is a lot of the same. It feels very much like the first movie. So if you're a fan of the first movie and the kind of action that they do, where it's kind of stealthy and can't see very well, and like I said, just a lot like the original, then I think you'll definitely enjoy this because it's a lot of the same. But with that being said, there is still a unique story here. It isn't just rinse, repeat like you see with a lot of stuff. They did have like a legit story and plot points that you will be invested in, who lives, who dies, and things like that. And just, there's a bit of a mystery, and that's why I'm trying to be careful with how I talk about this, because there is a mystery on how he ends up with this little girl, and you're kind of going through this movie and trying to figure out what's true, what's not, who's who, and all this kind of stuff.
It's not me you need to be scared of, little girl. The man standing next to you.
And then when there's this kind of major twist in the final act, you're just like, damn! And I mean, the whole audience that I was in there with was just like shocked, because it's pretty fucking savage. Just in general though, man, they really turned the gore up in this. It is violent and brutal as fuck.
Breathe.
Like, there's some scenes in the first one, but nothing like this one, man. This one definitely has some scenes that if you're squeamish, you might want to look away. And the old man stepped up his game, man. He's even more fucking savage in this. He was lethal as hell in the first, but I feel like he's even more just a fucking badass in this. But the same thing they did do in the first, they did again in this, where he is still handicapped and he's not perfect. He's very skilled, but he still makes some mistakes. He still misses punches or whatever. He still does get hurt and fucked up, you know, that whole thing. Which is part of what I really enjoyed about him in the first, and what I really enjoy about his character in this one. But like I already mentioned, this movie, Fede Álvarez, really has some big balls, because I wouldn't be shocked. Let me just put it this way. I wouldn't be shocked if there were people pissed off at this movie, talking a lot of shit about this movie. But I also won't be shocked if a lot of people love it either, because there were a few choices that I wasn't necessarily a huge fan of. Hey guys, Editor Kanan here. I totally forgot to mention this, and it's been eating at me, and I couldn't throw this video out without talking about it. And it's the thing that really bothered me the most about this movie, and it's not really spoilerish at all, but it does kind of tie into the ending. So if you don't want to hear this, just skip past this black and white section. But basically, I have an issue with the way they portray the little girl, especially at the end, because this little girl goes through absolute hell. Without getting spoilery, I'm not going to say what happens, but just a lot of shit happens. She has to deal with a lot of different things, and the way they portray it at the end and what they do at the very, very end, I thought is just absolutely ridiculous. And I felt like up to that point, I was with it, but that very last thing especially just really bugged me. And I'm really curious what you guys thought. The other thing I forgot to mention was I didn't realize that Fede Álvarez didn't direct this one. He just produced it. But it was actually directed by a first-time film director named Rodo Sayagues. And I didn't think it was bad. I didn't think his directing job was bad. But I did wonder like why it just didn't quite feel as crisp and as creative as the first one. And that kind of explains some of that anyway. So those are just my editor Kane and 2 cents. Back to the previously recorded programming. But for the most part, I think if you enjoyed the first one and you're going into this as a fan of Don't Breathe, I think you're going to enjoy this one too. It's a lot of the same, but it does kind of continue the story more, and it isn't just a simple rinse repeat. There are some interesting things that they do to keep this fresh and unique, but I just can't get over some of the decisions they made and some of the stuff they do in this movie. But I mean, I guess that's what you got to expect for this, right? Because in the first one, there was some very uncomfortable stuff. Some stuff you were just like, you know, the turkey baster, like that kind of shit. Well, they do some stuff again in this that will shock you, surprise you. Not exactly the direction that you think it's going to go. Let's just leave it at that.
Now, you're gonna see what I see.
So all in all, I did really enjoy this, but I would have to say I still enjoyed the first more. This is one of those stories that it's hard to make a sequel of because you're never going to get that fresh, unique, first time thing back. And especially, like I said, so much of this is very similarly shot in the dark place again with, you know, really quiet sneaking around and tension built through that. So even though it's done really well again, because it's not the first time seeing that, it just doesn't have quite that same as the first one did. So without nitpicking it too hard, I definitely recommend it, and I think it's definitely worth your time.
There was a cricket man.
All right, that's going to do it for me today. Please leave your comments down below. Let me know if you plan on checking this out, or if you did, what you thought of it. Try to keep it spoiler free. And if you could do me a favor and hit that subscribe button and ding that little bell, because that is the best way to keep track of this channel. And when I post videos like this, and I post videos like this at least 2 times every week, I also want to give a huge, massive, enormous thank you to my patrons, because you guys mean so much to me. And if you would like to find out more about becoming a patron, the link is down in the description. And like always, thank you so much for watching. Please crush that like button. And remember, guys, horror can be fun. I will see you guys next time.